With Valve releasing their biggest update of the year so far, there's a lot to dissect, specifically talking about the Snakebite case. Now, the Snakebite case was the case that got removed, and obviously if you want to look at unboxing numbers, it's not too surprising. It was the lowest out of all of the previous active duty cases, plus the recoil case has the same gloves. However, we're going to be breaking down if it's a good investment for the Snakebite case. Now, we can look previously at what has happened for cases when they get removed, and if we want to look at the Clutch case or the Prisma 2 case, we see a very similar story all across the board, and that's the fact that we saw some pretty massive growth right after these cases got removed. Now, interestingly enough, because of the new drop system, we were actually unsure which case got removed, which led to this specific spike in the Fracture case. We saw a lot of people thinking the Fracture case was going to be the one that was getting removed, and therefore it shot up nearly 50% in price and now has lost a significant amount of its value, along with the rest of the active duty cases, which are all now down, considering we know there's probably not going to be another new case coming into the game for a very significant amount of time. SkinSwap is today's sponsor, and they're also sponsoring you with a free bonus for signing up with the first link in the description. They're the premier place for CSGO and Rust skins, with a massive trading site and a top-of-the-line marketplace, offering you the most competitive rates out there and a massive 40% bonus when you're using that link in the description. Combine that with their top-of-the-line selling feature with many payout options and their trading feature legitimately taking you just about a minute, and there's no reason not to sign up with that first link in the description. Now, breaking down everything this update has brought with it, we've got the returns of the Arms Race game mode, which is very nice to see that we're starting to see the return of some of these game modes. Hopefully Danger Zone is on the horizon, but then we've got the biggest one, which is going to be the custom sticker placement. The fact that you can now put stickers wherever you would like on a weapon is going to bring a lot of interest into this area, especially considering we could potentially see some investor impact, which we'll talk about in a quick second. Then we've got the Kilowatt case coming in with a brand new kukri knife. This is something we've mentioned time and time again. It's definitely good to see some brand new content, and especially a new case which kicked out one of the old ones, which was the Snakebite. We're going to elaborate more on that in a little bit as well. Then we've got a couple big things. We've got the new sticker capsule and the new music kit, which is obviously very impactful for my friend Graphs right here. Congratulations to him. And then we've got the brand new first Zeus skin, which is very nice to see, and a ton of different map changes, but those are not the most important thing for this channel. Now, talking about the brand new sticker format, obviously we've seen a lot of misuse already happen in this area, which is very unfortunate, but it's not too unexpected coming from this specific area. However, what we want to focus in on is a lot of the new developments. First of all, you can now add 5 stickers to every single weapon inside the game, which is a very big deal, especially considering now you can go ahead and stack them on top of each other. This brings up a lot of potential investing questions when we're talking about Paris, Stockholm, and Antwerp. First up with Paris, I think Paris is still in a very decent situation, very long term, but honestly, when we're talking about something like this, I don't see it having that much of an impact. Paris has already passed, and therefore it's going to be definitely a beneficial thing for Paris, but I can't see anything major changing. Now, for Antwerp and Stockholm, it could have a little bit more of an impact. That's because the supply on these is a little bit lower, and therefore we're going to be seeing people going ahead and picking up their 4x crafts and turning them into a 5x craft. I don't think it's going to be anything absolutely outrageous, but I definitely don't think something like this is going to be negatively impacting the sticker market, but I don't think it's going to be blowing it out of proportion either. Now, talking about the future of the Snakebite case, it's a little bit of an interesting development because of a couple different things. If we want to focus in on the Clutch case, which was the closest comparison we could have, we can see a lot of similarities between the Snakebite and the Clutch case. First up, if we want to talk about the Clutch case, we saw a very significant supply. We're talking 33 to 45 million for the Snakebite and about a 45 million estimate for the Clutch. Very similar stories in this area, but the biggest thing is if we want to look at the growth over the past year specifically for the Clutch case, we can see a very drastic story, and that's the fact that it has seen pretty much no growth, especially over the past 6 months. It's actually gone down in price, and we're seeing such a strong development for the Clutch case in the recent times just because it's just been so cheap and there's so few rare cheap cases out there, but it's gotten so much time to get to this point already. When we're talking about the Snakebite case, it's got a lot of time to go ahead and develop that supply and get rid of it, and it needs so much demand behind it, but it's already falling off significantly in the amount of demand it has. I don't exactly know where the Snakebite case is going to land, but at the current moment it's losing a lot of its momentum. Now, talking about the Snakebite case, I don't actually think it's the best investment you could be making right now for a couple different reasons. First up, if we want to talk about the Clutch case, we can see that it took so long to get a strong development because of the massive supply behind it. We know the supply of the Snakebite case is absolutely insane, and therefore it's going to be taking a significant amount of time to go ahead and get down to a level where we're going to see some actual massive growth just because there's so many of these cases out there. It was the #1 most listed thing on Steam for a significant amount of time, and nothing you can do is going to change the fact that there's a massive supply around that. Combine that with the fact that I think a lot of the rarer cases right now are still looking a little bit more optimal, even though they may be a little bit more expensive. Even looking at the Clutch case, which might be double the price, I think it's going to have a much more prosperous future, especially in the short term here, than something like the Snakebite case, which I think just needs a lot of time to develop. I don't think it's a bad investment, but I think there's a lot more profitable areas you could potentially be looking into. Now, with everything being said, I don't think it's a bad investment either. We're obviously looking at a very cheap price point of potentially 25 cents for a lot of Snakebite cases, which is not a terrible price point considering that's exactly what it was sitting at for a significant amount of time. And the biggest thing is coming down to the fact that there's going to be demand coming in for this case consistently. immediately. It's now a rare case. It makes up 1% of the drop pool. Very few people are actually getting dropped this now, and therefore we're going to see a decreasing supply on the future horizon for a very long time for this case, which means it's just going to need time to develop. Now, this recent update actually had a very big insight to what potentially we're going to be seeing for the Copenhagen Major, and that's because of this specific sticker capsule right here. It doesn't seem like there's anything too crazy until you realize that the hollows and the glitters are actually the same rarity inside of the purples, and they brought back foils. This is very interesting because if we want to look at the past major capsule, we didn't see foils at all. Instead, we saw glitters being the purple and hollows being the pink tier, potentially changing the fact that we're now going to see an opening and elimination in a playoff stage rather than a contenders, a challengers, and a legends, and it's very possible they could be changing this up, which would lead to 2.5 times more hollows than we saw previously for the Paris Major. This is because you're 5 times more likely to get a purple than a pink, and considering there might be 2 different purples inside of the capsule, this means that you'd be 2.5 times more likely to get a pink, which was previously the hollows. Obviously, it's a very big hypothetical, but it's a very big change potentially that they could be bringing into the first CS2 Major, which would definitely be quite interesting. Now, something I found particularly interesting about this update is we've actually seen the continuous downfall of a lot of these rare cases. Now, if you don't remember, about a week ago, we saw the rare cases increase back up in price from their super low price point, and then they have just completely fallen off all across the board in the past couple days. It's a very interesting development because honestly, in my personal opinion, I thought we would have seen a stronger movement in this area of an upwards trajectory because we saw this brand new update, a lot of new content reintroduced in the game, so many new possibilities inside of this area, but we really haven't seen that at all, which is extremely interesting coming from the rare case market, which we know is going to be sustainably growing over the very long term, but especially now in the short term, there's so many possibilities to go ahead and grab yourself a really cheap price point on a lot of really desirable items. I'm just extremely surprised by this current development, but I can't say it's too unexpected considering how wacky this market is. Now, we mentioned earlier that people thought it was the fracture case that got moved into the rare drop pool for a period of time, and that's because of a couple different things, but the biggest one comes down to the fact that people are redeeming their drops way too early in the week. If we want to look at the case graph of the active duty cases, you can see the cheapest price point of them is on Wednesday. That's because people are redeeming their cases on Wednesday when they will go ahead and reset. The best thing for you to do and to make a ton of money, like that kilowatt case that was sitting at $70 just after it was released, is wait until Tuesday to go ahead and redeem your case. Put your XP all the way up to the top and just don't worry about it. It's not too important now that we just got a brand new case, but it's something to think about next time because you can go ahead and cash in on that very expensive price point of the brand new case and be one of the first people to have it. Now, what should you specifically be doing right now? Well, honestly, I think the biggest thing is do not FOMO into the Snakebite case. If you want to make an investment into the Snakebite case, that's your personal decision, and it's probably long-term going to pay off for you, but the biggest thing is it's not some miraculous investment. Unless you got it at that 17-cent price point, there's no reason to go ahead and start dumping all your money into it in the current market because we know it's probably going to be taking a significant amount of time to go ahead and develop to the price point that you want it to actually be at and to see the growth you actually want. But that's all I got. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.